Okay, are we ready?
Absolutely not.
Perfect.
Welcome to Beauty, Business, and Bullshit,
the podcast where two beauty besties talk about business,
client stories, how we make it through the day,
and all the bullshit in between.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Siobhan.
Let's get into it.
Hi, everyone. Today we want to talk through our journeys through the industry because we talked a little bit about how we got into it and what interested us, but there's never like a direct path through, I think anything, but especially all the avenues you can take with the beauty industry. So we want to talk about just kind of our journeys and experiences and
just how they
what led us to where we are now today.
Yeah. Just it evolves, and sometimes you think you're going to do something and then you end up hating that thing, and so then you change it, and that's just part of it.
Especially like, I don't know, just like college in general, people get degrees and then most people don't end up doing that, right? So like in beauty school, you're like, oh, my specialty is going to be this, and then really you end up being good at something different or enjoying something else more, and it just kind of evolves and changes. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go through my story first, and then we'll touch on Siobhan's in our part 2 of our beauty journeys. So, all right. So you guys kind of know, like, I kind of grew up thinking I was going to do hair, and that's really like where the passion started. Is I'd like curl my friend's hair when we were young and whatever. So, at one point in time, I wanted to own my salon, like as I got older, and I thought I'd go to college and get like my business degree and then do beauty school, like to get me through college. Or I didn't really know how that was going to play out. Obviously, when you're like in junior high planning your life, like you never know what life's going to bring you. And I actually ended up getting pregnant shortly after I graduated high school. And for me, that was kind of just like time to grow up moment, but also like I need to start my career. And so when I was 4 months pregnant, I started cosmetology. And in Utah back then, it was 2,000 hours. Mm-hmm. But in Utah, it covers nail tech, basic aesthetics, and hair. And so I started beauty school, and when I got on like the floor, right, because you do like so many hours before you can start working on live clients, I had gone on the floor, I don't even know, not very long, maybe a couple months, and my pregnancy was getting too hard. So I ended up taking my leave 4 weeks before my due date. But then I know this is kind of a side story, but then I ended up having him a week later. So I had him 3 weeks early. So I ended up taking 6 months off of school because another school bought out my school. So the one school gave me 3 months, but then the new school was like, we'll give you 3 months. And I'm like, cool, I'll take it. Because I had a brand new baby and I was working full time because I was going to school at night. So I was like 70-hour weeks, like working, around 50 hours a week, and then working school, real estate for my parents. I was a real estate assistant for my parents were part of a big real estate team. And it was during the recession. This was like in 2010. And so I was processing short sales. So people that owed more on their houses than their houses were worth. It was like all the work that nobody else wanted to do. And so really I just had to like get paperwork and send it to banks. And anyway, so that's what I was doing. And then when I was getting separated from my first husband, I ended up moving back in with my parents and started going to school full time. So I'd like wake up early, go to work all day Monday because I didn't have school Mondays. And then I'd go in like at 6:00 a.m., get a couple hours in, and then I'd go to school until, 4 or 5 or whenever it was over. And then sometimes I'd go back and work a couple hours. So I was definitely hustling through my early 20s. So it took me 2 years to get through school, but I did not love doing hair. And it's funny because I didn't like styling hair. at all, which is why I kind of felt like I liked it when I was younger. But I actually took a makeup class at the end of beauty school, and I took it because I'm like, if I'm going to be in the industry, like I have to know how to do my own makeup. So really I did it for myself, but I actually ended up loving makeup. And I also loved like avant-garde hairstyling and makeup, like very like out there, like nobody's going to pay you to do that shit. It's just for fun, right? There are probably people that'll pay you. Like when Hunger Games
But you
came
have to like
out,
get into that, like
yeah.
like photography and
Yeah.
like film.
Yeah.
It's a separate part of the industry
Yeah.
to be able to do all that.
I'm like, when
stuff.
Hunger Games
Yeah.
came out and the people, like the makeup and the hair at the Capitol, I'm like, I was made to do that, but I wasn't in a place where
Same.
obviously I was there. Anyway, and then also lash extensions were kind of starting to make their debut
They're, like,
around
brand
that
new,
time.
yeah.
And so I remember taking a class, but I also remember a girl doing mine. Anyway, that's a story for another day, but I kind of was a little drawn to that, but there just wasn't enough around it. For me to feel comfortable doing it. There wasn't enough like information, we'll say. Something has to make sense to me for me to want to do it. So I didn't like doing brow waxing at all, which is comical now, but because I didn't feel like they taught me it
No.
enough before I was on the floor, and some of the girls loved it, but I remember like crying one day because I got a brow wax client. I'm like, I've never waxed anybody. They didn't teach me this when the first school had it anyway. So
Didn't you have to do each other's in basics?
before they put us on the floor, I'm like, I don't know if I missed a day. I don't think I ever missed a day, but I'm like, I had never waxed when I got onto the floor.
We had to do each other.
But then once you have like your theory and like days where you're not on the floor, we went to the same school. So
Yeah.
it was very similar. We weren't ever in class together, but we were at the same school
Well,
at the
'cause you
same
were
time. Yeah.
And then
When I switched to days, you had moved to Taylor. You stayed with Taylor.
I dropped
first.
out because when the school sold, I was like, deuces.
Yeah. So she finished later.
Yeah. I took a hiatus, but we'll go over that.
We'll go over. Yeah. So anyway, we were never there together, but we kind of know the same structure. We would like practice waxing on each other after that, but we'd mostly do like arms and noses. And I'm just like, I never really did a lot of brows. So when I got done with school, I loved doing makeup. I didn't love doing hair. I ended up getting a job at a photography studio doing hair and makeup. And it was funny because I didn't love hairstyling, but like you have to get good at it when you're like, we would do a lot of big groups of like young girls. So it's like curling their hair, busting them out really quick. And so I got really quick at it. I got really good at it. I also started doing a lot of the business side for them because I was good on the phone because of my real estate background and being an assistant, like, and having appointments with people. And I think that really helped me get comfortable with like sales. Like I didn't know that, but like when people had to come back and pick out their pictures, that was helpful for me because I get to see my work in real time. Like not in real time, I guess, because it's not like the same day, but when they come back to see their pictures, like I got to the point where I knew who did their makeup based on how it looked in the pictures. Not that other people were doing it bad, but just like the subtle differences between the style. But that, when they come back to talk about their pictures, like that kind of helped me with like selling to them their own pictures, right? Like, what do you want to get? They're coming to buy them anyway. So like that was kind of helpful for me. Never did I think that I would ever like sales in school. I was like, I'm never selling products. Like, I don't want to be pushy. Like nobody likes the dirty car salesman. But you just learn. You learn that that's
it's not about
essential.
sales, it's about
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
And fixing somebody's needs.
Yeah, you're filling a need. They want, to fix their acne, to fix their hair, to not have split ends, like all these things. They want stronger lashes. So it becomes not sales, but it's sales. And then we'd have slow seasons. So I ended up working at Macy's. I actually got hired by MAC and Estee Lauder, but MAC doesn't let you work at any competing businesses, even though MAC owned Estee Lauder and Clinique at the time and whatever. So I stayed with Estee Lauder. So I worked there for a Christmas season, which also helped with like retail and sales. Like they're coming for something, me helping them find what's right for them. And then you were working at Sally's at one point, and then I started working at Sally's with you. And then I had a friend who was working at Ulta, and you were like, don't go to Ulta. This was a long time ago. But she was like, okay, well, there's a position at the Brow Bar. And like, mind you, I did not like doing eyebrows. She's like, but you'll just have like a couple brow clients here and there, and they'll train you. But it's mostly just like playing with makeup all day. And I'm like, I'm in, like, sign me up. Like, I loved doing makeup. That was my thing. I tried to get into some like film stuff, and I did work on like a few little independent things that never went anywhere, but it was still fun to do some of that, but never really took off for me in that way, which I don't know. I'm fine with that. But it took off at the Brow Bar for me. But then while I was working there, people are coming in for makeup. They want to cover their acne. They want to cover their dark spots. They want, makeup to help them hide these things. But you also learn a little bit of skincare. And so I was like, kind of learning that I'm like, but you could use this product to help with your acne. Like if we can reduce that, like, yes, we can get you a makeup to cover it, but let's also like try to fix the problem. And so I kind of got into this like problem solving mode. And then there was a couple guys that worked there, Chris and Robert. Do you remember them?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
But I'm like, they would like,
love them,
they would like spit out these ingredients and like what they're, and I'm like, am I supposed to know what these ingredients do? But also like working for Benefit, like they had a couple skincare products where I'm like, oh, like squalling's good for this and da 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 da. And so you kind of start learning ingredients and even just like makeup ingredients, like what's good for oily and whatever. And so I really started getting passionate for like wanting to know that level of like ingredients and like what they do for people and how they work. So I went back to school, and mind you, this is like 4 or 5 years into the industry, for my master aesthetic. So not all states have master aesthetics. Utah does. So it's another like 700 hours of training where we get to learn, chemical peels, microdermabrasion, now microneedling, body waxing.
Laser.
You used to not be able to do like Brazilians until you were a master. Now it's changed, but laser hair removal, other types of laser, microneedling with RF, like all the fun skincare stuff. And I was like very much like, I'm not a fluffy skincare person. Like I want to treat people. So I started going back to school for that while I was working at Ulta. I was still working at the photography studio a little bit, but I think at that point I had to cut my ties there to focus on school and Ulta. I think that was enough for me. And so I graduated.
Hi, buddy. Moon's joined the chat.
Hi, sweetie.
He just jumped right up. Okay, bye.
Hi. So, okay. While I was at my master's, like I was killing it at the Brow Bar. Just to toot my own horn a little bit, I was booked every single day I was there. I was booking people in the spots that they tell you not to book to leave for like walk-ins.
Nonsense. Yeah.
I'm like I would do in a like 7-hour day, like 15, 16 appointments. So
at one point there was like 3 of us at the Brow Bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just was,
which by the way, that's unheard of these days. Like
they're always hiring.
Even keeping one brow person at a time is like is so hard.
Well, I'm like,
they can't stay busy.
Sorry, not sorry.
I know. I'm like, well, we did good. Same with the
like,
salon.
When I first started
that
there,
salon was like busy, fully staffed, like crazy, and then they just struggle now.
I'll be okay. This is a side tangent, but a tangent nonetheless. But I feel like we've got to go down a little bit. When I first got there, the other girl that was working there at the time was somewhat newer, but still had been there a little bit, obviously longer than me. Nobody knew the Brow Bar existed. And even to this day, when I talk about that I worked there, nobody knows that it exists.
Mhm.
But when you train with benefit, a huge thing that I did is like, they told me to jump and I jumped. They told me to like
Mhm.
tell people it exists and that people start
Offer
coming
free
to
brow
you.
mapping and like
Yeah.
make it known like
I just
you're
like,
not just an associate helping them find a product, you're the brow
by the
expert.
way, I'm the brow, I'm
Yeah.
the arch expert here. And, you know, so if you ever need a shaping and they're like, what, you do that?
Yep.
But it's just like putting yourself out there and being okay with being rejected, which is really hard in this industry. But like, for whatever
That's
reason,
part of it. Like you have to be able to do that.
I was like, you know,
and
you
a
have
lot
to
of
be
people
a
struggle
little,
with that.
yeah. But the other thing is that I had noticed that girls that would come to me after going to the other girl sometimes liked the way that I did it better, but she still had her clientele. But I'm like, I'm just doing what they told me to do.
Mhm.
I'm mapping it the way that they told me to do. I'm not doing what they taught me in school.
Mhm.
I'm mapping them, period. You know, there's all these things that I was doing differently that people liked.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously I like to think that like my personality and other things have something to do with it. I mean, 12 years later, and I still have clients coming to me that started with me at the brow bar.
Right.
And those clients have trusted me to like come be my models when I went back to school for masters. And then those clients, spoiler alert, next step was, okay, this is where I was at in the story. We've circled back.
Perfect.
One thing that stood out to me when I was in school is that like I had built my clientele at the brow bar, obviously at that point. And then I started building my clientele at the school. And even though like, I don't know that anyone that had come to me at the school followed me, I knew how to get them rebooked. You know, you do a consultation for their skin and you get them a plan and then like, you know, ask them to come back. And like working at the brow bar, getting people rebooked while they're there was a thing that I was really good at. And I remember one of my teachers said, if you can build a clientele here, you can build a clientele anywhere. And that like sparked this like aha in me of like, I should just work on my own. Like if I can build a clientele here, I can build a clientele anywhere. If I can build it at the brow bar, I can build it anywhere. But that's because I had learned all of these tools that I didn't even realize I was learning.
Mhm.
And even like as we've been like analyzing recently, like all the different steps of the industry outside of just like the actual service, I'm like, I didn't know that I was learning these things. And I didn't realize that I'm actually teaching this to my students as I go because I'm just doing it, right? Like, I don't even think that I have to tell them because it's just like, I don't have to think about it to do it. Anyway, and so I put in my notice because, well, I mean, I tried to stay there, but at some point, like when you work for a big company, you kind of top out and they can't pay you more. They wanted me to work Saturdays again. And I'm like, Saturdays were like for people that needed to build their clientele, not for established people. I'm like, I already worked every Saturday for years.
Well, and then I was making more hourly because I went from management over and they didn't drop my pay. And then you got your master's license and they didn't like give you more.
The manager at the time told me when I went back to school that they'd be able to pay me more once I graduate. So around the time I graduated, I was getting my assessment and I brought it up and she was like, no. And I was like, okay. And I don't think that maybe that was in her control either, possibly. Like maybe I don't know. Whatever it was. Not anymore. No, I was only 2 days a week.
So it's like if you were full-time while you were going to school, you could have got
benefits,
tuition reimbursement.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah,
I was. But they also had a part-time girl that was getting benefits, but they never would get me benefits.
No, part-timers can't get benefits.
She had partial benefits, like paid time off. Like she would accrue paid time off, and they wouldn't give me that. And I'm like, I know she is. And my paycheck said that I was accruing time.
Because
when I was full time, it showed that I accrued it. And they're like, oh, you don't get that, and took it away. So like all of these things, I don't know. But like, mind you, we had all these different like managers. At one point, we didn't have a store manager. So I think that like, I don't blame
a lot of confusion,
but it was just like a lot of things that finally I was like, I took the leap of faith. It was actually 10 years ago this month.
Aww.
Yeah, June 1st was my last day at Ulta 10 years ago. So I know that this episode might not come out right here and then in this month, but anyway, it's fine. 10 years ago, June 1st. So I had a lot of clients. Like it's funny because I never signed anything like an NDA or non-solicit when I started there. And I wasn't trying to take anybody, but a lot of my clients had already started coming to me at the school and like knew kind of what was happening and had my phone number. And so I stayed there and I kept making my clients go back there the whole time I was there. I gave everyone there like notice that I'd be leaving. I told them like what girls there I would recommend. I don't remember if you were at the Broward at that time. You might have been. I don't think you were though. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I wanted it. I didn't want to take anything from anyone. I wanted to help everyone else there too. But anyway, I left and
I think I was because I think I remember you leaving before I wasn't at I was still at the Brow Bar.
Maybe. I probably would have sent them to you then. I don't remember. But you were trying to get on at the salon at that time.
So I had I think maybe I took a couple of your clients like a couple times, so that was it.
Yeah. So I worked at home for like 6 years. I was so busy. I was taking 10, 12. I mean, not at the beginning, but like over time and just building and referrals and all the things. I didn't have a website until like 2020. I didn't it was just all off referrals. Yeah. 100% referrals. It really took off when I moved into my Layton house. And I think where it's like, you don't have to walk through my whole house to go to my basement.
Right.
It's right off the front. It was a big room. I mean, my other one was a decent sized room and it was professional, but yeah. I didn't want random people finding me and like knowing where I lived. I was like really weird about that. And so like,
I've never wanted a salon home.
Yeah. So I'm like, I really worked from referrals mostly, I think because of that, but I was busy enough with that too. But then in 2020, like COVID, I was like, well, what am I going to do with my time? And so I started a website and I wanted to just have like my profile. Right. And then I got to the point where, everyone's like, you need to get your instructor's license. Like you should be training people. I had a hard time finding people that I could trust to like send people to that would give like the same quality of work as me. That like if I'm going on vacation and they need to get in or if I'm too full. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm too full and I can't take anybody, like all the different things. And so I'm like, well, I could just get my instructor's license and train somebody to do things the way that I do and have it be more consistent. And so I got my instructor's license and my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, was my first student and she came to my house and that was my first like getting my toes wet. And then at that point, I kind of had this moment where I'm like, I can't take a week off without my week before or my week after being absolute chaos. Like I'm working 12, 14 hours a day to just make up for the week I take off. And then, you make up a little bit of money by working the extra, but then you also like don't get paid for a whole week. And so I'm like, I would love to have something more passive. And I had started in the works, like just thinking that in the future.
Moon. Sorry, my cat's trying to climb the wall like a tree.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Thinking in the future, I'm like, I just don't see myself being at home forever, like maybe passively working from home, but like I want to own a studio. Like I want to have a place where everyone can go and get the same thing, not the same thing, but the same quality of service, but also like different things, like a one-stop shop. Like that was my vision. And so, I didn't think it would happen as quickly as it did. Okay. So we were moving and I hated having to like move my clients to like a new location that's maybe further away from them or not as convenient, whatever. And so I'm like, I know that this was like a futuristic timeline, but like, what if I look and explore what that would look like now that we are moving? And so like a month later, I signed a lease for my building and started building it out. And I've been there ever since. So it's been 4 years since I opened my studio. And we'll save the stories for that for another day, just like what it is to be a business owner, the things that have happened, the lessons I've learned. But that's kind of where I'm at now.
And how many apprentices have you had now?
So I trained my sister in basics, and then once we moved into the studio, I trained her in masters, and then I had another basics, and then she graduated with basics, and then we did her masters, another basics. And then while she was on kind of her maternity leave, they came out with the lash license. I trained 2 lash techs. And then we're finishing this apprentice's masters in the next couple of months. And
Exciting.
so yeah, so I guess I've licensed 5 people, but 3 of those people, we did it in 2 different parts. You can just go straight through masters, but Moon is back, and that's kind of my journey.
Hey, buddy. Sorry.
I did always want to start a business, but then at some point I liked the idea of just being at home. But then I never went to business school. Turns out you don't have to have that to own a business. Would it have been helpful? Probably. But also, I thought I wanted to do hair, and then I hated doing brows. But then, now I'm kind of the brow queen. Not really, but kind of. I'm the one teaching brow mapping classes and doing this extra education stuff for people and doing the permanent makeup and, what you think you like, you might not like, and it's okay to kind of adapt, but also I don't know, I guess a part of me always wanted to own a business, and then I didn't think I was ever going to do that. And then I did out of nowhere, kind of. So I was like, all right, it's time.
Yeah.
Or not, but we're going to figure it out as we go. So that's my beauty journey.
I love it.
That's my beauty journey and how it is. So next time we'll talk about Siobhan's journey and how her story has adapted through time and her experiences and background. So thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's enough free business therapy for today. Thanks for making it this far down the rabbit hole.
If you love this episode, make sure to follow, rate, and share this podcast with your beauty besties.
If you have a client story, industry confession, or a business question you want us to talk about,
send it through the link on our socials.
Because honestly, the beauty industry gets weirder every day.
Find us at beauty.business.bullshit on Instagram and TikTok, or Beauty Business Bullshit on YouTube.
We are clocking out, but keeping the tea hot.
Until next time, may your clients pre-book and tip you accordingly.